Welcome to the Sweaty Pillow podcast. Today we have Cindy Topel, and this is extraordinary because Cindy's been with us twice before, and this is the first ever guest in almost 2 years that we've had back a third time. That's how terrific Cindy is and her insight. So I'm going to do the formal list of your credentials because they keep expanding. I love this. So first and foremost, certified menopause specialist, new certified nutritionist, certified weight loss coach, but also what connected us so emotionally to you was your own personal weight loss journey and how you've discovered that, and then how you managed to keep it off, and then bring millions of women globally these incredible insights. So, Cindy, welcome back to the podcast. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I am thrilled to come back and chat with you again. So thank you so much.
So, give us just the Cole's notes of your background, what led you on this journey, and sort of if anything's different from a year ago, because a lot of our new listeners, new watchers may not have been introduced to you before. So, give us the whole overview of who you are.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm happy to. So I lived in the corporate world for the majority of my career. So 35 years in technology. And personally, I always struggled with my weight. Starting from my early teens on, I was always gaining and losing and gaining and losing and trying every diet out there. And then I started experiencing all these, what I would call now symptoms. But at the time, I had no idea I was in perimenopause. Shoulder pain, joint pain, gastrointestinal issues. I knew the hot flashes and night sweats were menopausal, but all the other things I was experiencing, brain fog, everything just made me feel like my body was betraying me. And the weight loss part of that sort of weight loss roller coaster just got so much harder. And when I finally figured out what was happening with my body, and I finally learned a method to help me lose weight and keep it off. And for me, it was 27 pounds, and it's been almost three and a half years now. That all happened for me when I was in my early 50s. So, I started the weight loss journey, probably finished it a couple years. It took me a couple of years of just very slow going, and then figuring out the menopause symptoms um, made just a world of difference in how I felt. And I'm now 59. I'll be 60 and, later in January. So it's a big birthday coming up. But I'll tell you, I feel better at 59 than I felt at 49. And so once I became certified as a weight loss coach, which was my first certification, started working with clients and helping women. All of my clients were like me. They were all menopausal or perimenopausal. And so I started doing tons of research, eventually became a certified menopause specialist, and combining the two things, the behavioral and emotional weight loss and some of the skills that I teach on that side, along with what's actually happening in your body as you go through this process and how does it impact everything from sleep to exercise to weight loss to your gut health to inflammation to your body cognitively. That's been my secret sauce. And so that is my sole focus, is helping women midlife not only feel like themselves again, but feel better than they were feeling before. So, and it's just truly my passion. I've been doing this for about 2.5 years now. So,
Amazing. So we met just over a year ago. I guess it was later in 2024. And
mhm.
you arrived in our life at a time where, um, personally, and then our director of marketing, Lisa, who's the co founder of this podcast, we connected so much with what you said and instantly implemented so many things and felt better. I joke that, and my husband jokes that there could be 5 days between a bathroom trip for me. And on days 3, 4, and 5, I'm kind of a monster because I'm like, but honey, it's like, I'm not regular. My stomach's not working. And you cleared all that up. We both lost weight. We both felt better. Even things that I noticed over the course of the year, which were my skin and my hair health, I think were positively impacted by your protocol. But what's funny is, and now it's the new year, so it's the perfect time for us to be regrouping on this as a real official reset to midlife women's bodies. But in December, when Lisa and I were talking, and Lisa brought up, we need Cindy back. We need to talk about this. And it was some of the habits had slipped. And I guess we can all blame it on busy or being forgetful or just the hamster wheel. And I'm not feeling as great. And I'm like, I'm not sleeping as well. I'm more bloated. We're going into Christmas. There's more champagne. There's more chocolate.
Mhm.
And it just was a hot mess of falling off the Cindy Topel wagon. So we need the timing is perfect because we so connect with you emotionally, but we have to now reset ourselves. The
Yeah.
Sweaty Pillow community of women, newly in January 2026, because it centers around this external thing, which we call the menopause belly. And we don't like the look of it and we don't like how it feels. But if you can get into all of the kind of the physiology and what's going on from a hormone standpoint, gut health, and make this make sense for us.
Yeah, I'm happy to, because there is so much misinformation about this. So let's start by just kind of framing what we're talking about when we say menopause belly, Lara, because there are a lot of women who have weight to lose before they enter into this perimenopause or menopause phase of their life. And so we're not talking about regular weight that gets distributed across your body when we eat too many calories. We're talking about something very different. Menopause belly is this body composition shift that many, almost most women experience. And when we have an influx of estrogen when we're teenagers, we have a weight shift distribution. We develop breasts, we develop hips, we get more of a feminine physique for most women. When we lose estrogen, we also experience a body composition shift. And we see some reduction at breast and some reduction in hip, but what we really see is an influx of weight in the abdomen. And we feel so darn bad about this. I have so many clients say, but I'm not doing anything different. And we're not. This is a result of hormonal changes that are happening in our body as we lose estrogen. So when we go into this phase of our life that can start as early as your late 30s and continues for the until the end of your life, menopause isn't something that starts and stops. It starts, but it never stops because we don't get the hormones back. When we lose estrogen, which is the primary hormone that the loss of which kicks off this process, it impacts your whole body, Lara, because estrogen is involved in over 400 processes in your body. So let that sink in. So the loss of estrogen impacts over 400 processes in your body. And we do see a real change in almost every system within the human body, the female human body, those born female, right? So when we think about estrogen loss, estrogen itself interacts with all 49 hormones. It's a hormone. But two big hormones take a hit, and these two are big, big contributors. Two of the three contributors to belly fat. One is insulin, and one is cortisol. And the third thing that causes this belly fat, this overnight fat we almost feel in our midsections where our clothes don't fit the same, we can't tuck our shirts in. The third thing is inflammation. So we lose estrogen, our body really changes, and we see an influx in these two hormones plus inflammation. And these three things combined cause menopause belly. And so I think for your listeners who out there who are like driving or at the gym or just multitasking, I really want them to zero in on what I just said because I think it's so important. Menopause belly is not caused by too many calories. Therefore, cutting calories, fasting, killing yourself at the gym, cutting carbs, none of that works to lose menopause belly.
Hmm.
It's a different kind of fat. It's almost an inflammatory tissue. And we go from having virtually none of this, 0 to 5% in the average woman. And then we enter this perimenopause phase and we go to having 15 to 20% of this type of fat that's called visceral fat. It feels like almost overnight with no change in diet and in exercise. So almost nothing to almost 20%. So we do see this almost sudden feeling body composition shift, and it's occurring because of hormones and inflammation that is a result of a change in your hormones. So I really want women to hear that because we feel so bad about this weight that we're carrying.
Mhm.
We know I haven't done anything different, and now my body's changed. I'm never going to look the way I want to feel. All the things that we think, and it's so unfortunate because if we understand what's causing this type of weight, then we can understand what to do to fix it.
Right, because it's not about willpower. It's
Nope.
there's a shame associated with this sudden weight gain that feels just you feel at a loss on where to start. Especially now, I'm hearing, and I've heard, and we've done a lot of reading and talked to a lot of people about this. And one expert said you have to think of it like eating 300 less calories a day, but that's not even it because it's not about calorie restriction. So that's even all of the kind of false
Yep.
narratives out there about how we can attack this. It's great to level set on why it's causing this. So, we've done nothing different. Here we are. You mentioned the visceral fat piece, and I hear that, and it flags more risk to cardio health. Is there a connection with visceral fat and cardio health?
There is. It's really something to pay attention to. And for anybody out there who's skeptical, Lara, about this, because I'm sure there's people out there going, I'm not so sure. I think maybe I'm overeating, other people are overeating. We've all seen this in reality. We've always all seen the middle-aged or the older woman who carries no fat anywhere on her body, is not heavy, but has this menopause belly.
Mhm.
It is in a different type of fat. So fat that is caused from overeating and excess of calories is called subcutaneous fat. It sits below your skin. This kind of fat's called visceral fat. It very specifically wraps around your internal organs on the middle section of your body. And it's metabolically active, meaning it releases cytokines and different things that cause inflammation. And what it does, this type of fat, it increases your risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and stroke. So we really want to be thoughtful about reducing this. The hardest thing is day in and day out, you struggle standing in your closet. You struggle looking in the mirror. You don't feel like yourself anymore. And if I can bring hope to anybody who's listening to this, it would be now that you're understanding what's causing it, and we can talk more about the three things that are causing it, you can work on reducing those things and you can bring down this menopause belly. And myself, my clients, we've seen a dramatic difference just by kind of taking care of a few simple changes and counteracting what your body's done by this loss of estrogen with a few simple changes. And if you've got women who are on hormone replacement therapy, which a lot of women are, and I'm a huge advocate of it, right? If you think, well, I'm on HRT, hormone replacement therapy, I should be fine. Nope. You still need to work on this. And here's why.
Mhm.
Because the amount of estrogen that your body made before perimenopause, or if you were on birth control, is much, much higher than the amount of estrogen you were getting from hormone replacement therapy. There's a big chasm. So, um, you still need to work on some of these things to bring down things like menopause belly.
Oh yeah, and I mean I can speak from it personally when we first met how you impacted us. But also I didn't track before that this is gross. We look gross, we feel gross. There's the
Mm,
emotional side of it, but this is also life threatening now. So you can't mess around with this new menopause belly just from a longevity point of view and um, avoiding a cardiac event or any other disease caused by inflammation. So um, let's talk about the fix and the strategies.
yep. So if we think about the three things that lead to this type of composition change, right? Let's call it that instead of fat, because it's really kind of an inflammatory tissue. The first is insulin. So insulin levels go up in our body when estrogen levels come down. And so let's just for listeners' sake, let's talk a little bit about insulin and what it does. So insulin's a hormone and it's got two main jobs. And insulin's jobs are to always monitor how much sugar is in your bloodstream or glucose. Its second job, it acts like a key and it goes to your cells and it opens up your cells so that they can receive glucose. And your cells need glucose to survive. However, your cells do not react as well to this insulin hormone without estrogen. So now you've got this situation where you've got all this glucose and insulin in your body, and your body's like, well, the cells must be full, even though they're not. I better just store all this as fat. And where do we store it? We store it in our tummy. This is called insulin resistance, right? Where our cells don't react to insulin the same way they used to. And what happens is we don't have as much energy because they're really not getting the amount of glucose they need, right? But it does, this leads to menopause belly, this excessive visceral fat in your stomach. So we certainly need to lower the amount of added sugars and really be a little bit more focused on that when we are at this stage in life. The second thing we want to think about is reducing the second cause, which is cortisol. So I know you've talked with a lot of your guests, Laura, about cortisol, and a lot of us think of it as our stress hormone. And we really are affected a lot more by stress when we're at this phase in our life. But cortisol also is the hormone that wakes you up. So if you or any of your guests are waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's a homework sign, too much cortisol. And if we're not sleeping well, and something close to 70 to 75% of women are not sleeping well at this stage in their life, you see an increase in cortisol in the body. It's a stressor on your body not to sleep. So when your body is stressed, it releases more cortisol. More cortisol is waking you up in the middle of the night, which is it's this vicious cycle that we experience. So we have more cortisol in the body, and that leads to more belly fat. And then we have inflammation, our third cause. So why do we see an increase in inflammation? Estrogen is anti-inflammatory. So one of its like little miracle properties is that it helps keep inflammation down in our body. So when we don't have as much estrogen, we see an increase in inflammation, and inflammation makes lots and lots of our symptoms worse, including menopause belly. So we have to work on lowering insulin by lowering the amount of sugars we're eating, lower cortisol by sleeping better and doing stress relief things, and lower the inflammation levels that we have in our bodies by eating anti-inflammatory foods and getting the right things for our gut health. So our gut isn't helping to contribute to an inflammation issue.
The sleep thing really resonates with me. And that's a lot of the work that we do here is around sleep, of course.
Yeah.
And the vicious circle of these 3 a.m. wake ups, and bless someone's heart, like Lisa, who just then comes into work at 5. But also that's not sustainable either every day, week after week, right? So you wake up at 3, God willing, you go back to sleep at 5:30, the negative rumination that happens in those 2.5 frustrating hours, only to wake up, feel exhausted. When you're exhausted, you crave worse foods.
Yeah.
Then there's more stress. We're adding to the inflammation, and the whole thing starts over again. And some women describe, I'm actually anxious and stressed to go to sleep because I know what's going to happen. So imagine the stress response that anxious feeling that our body's trying to manage every day, every night. So the sleep is a big thing. So let's talk about putting it all together now.
It is a big thing, just because if you're not sleeping, you're chronically sleep deprived, to your point, Lara, your body will release hormones because your body's an amazing survival machine to help it keep itself going. Meaning it will release hormones that make you hungry and it'll release hormones that have you crave sugary and carby things because your body needs energy to get through the day.
Yeah.
And quick energy, it's the quickest energy to eat those things. Your body's brilliant, but you're right. You put this together, and you've got chronic sleep deprivation, then you've got chronic overeating and chronic. You just feel like garbage,
Yeah.
and you are seeing an increase in weight. So sleep is one of the first things I work on with my
Mhm.
clients. I work with them one on one. Is where's your sleep at? Are you able to fall asleep? Are you able to sleep through the night, or are you struggling with both? Some poor women struggle falling asleep and struggle also waking up in the middle of the night. And then you're just dealing with, a long day, a very long day at
Yeah.
that point. Yeah.
Before we continue, just a brief note for this community. If you're struggling with night sweats or overheating, that's exactly why I founded Lucime. We created technical luxury pajamas and temperature regulating cooling sheets that are proven to give relief from overheating and night sweats. In fact, our temperature regulating sheets were just evaluated in a clinical trial by Harvard Medical School, and all measures of sleep health were improved. So please check us out at lucime.com. Now back to the podcast.
So I always like to think of, simple things that people can do to help with this process. And when we're specifically talking about menopause belly, um, people think, well, what can I do? What should I take? Right? We would tend to rely a lot on big pharma to help us when our bodies aren't creating things correctly. And big pharma, I think, is always trying to mimic what your body is able to do on its own if it's operating well. It breaks down food into nutrients and chemicals and energy, and it uses those things to create new neurotransmitters and hormones and repair tissue. And your body's an amazing machine if you give it the right tools.
Mhm.
And we don't need to take specific supplements. We don't need to take specific things to correct what's happening to your body during menopause, like causing these three things to happen and giving you, as a result, symptoms including menopause belly. There are
Mhm.
really simple things that we can do that I have seen work countless times, not only on myself, but on my clients. And so I'd love to give your listeners three things they can do to
Please.
just get started. So the first thing's going to sound strange, and that is I would love every woman to eat breakfast within 90 minutes of waking up. Here's why. I just talked about how cortisol is also the hormone that wakes you up,
Mhm.
right? So your cortisol levels are very high in the morning because you just woke up,
Mhm.
right? If you don't eat, if you fast, your hormone levels will remain high. And then if you have a stressor, they bounce up even higher. That's excess cortisol that your body doesn't need throughout the day, and it's going to lead to all of the things we just talked about. If you eat within 90 minutes, you blunt that cortisol release and you lower it. So then you go from where you woke up down to a lower level. And then if you have stressors, you may bounce back up again and then start coming back down. You're automatically reducing the amount of cortisol in your body, which helps with menopause belly, and you're helping with your sleep. It sounds super weird, doesn't it? Eat breakfast and you'll sleep better. It sounds
Well, no,
strange.
I love it. I mean, one of the biggest takeaways from our conversations previously was the power and the impact of your gut health. And we really had no idea. So I know we're
Yeah.
about to get to this, and all of this really is the framework to service the three pillars of health, which is sleep, fitness, and nutrition. So
Mhm.
we're not, I mean, your expertise is in the area of nutrition and sleep and menopause. So let's really get into, we wake up within 90 minutes, we're eating something. What are we eating? What would you love to see people eat within 90 minutes?
So I would love you to eat some protein, a healthy fat, some fiber, maybe a fermented food, some antioxidants and phytoestrogens. And you think, Oh my gosh, how complicated.
Yeah.
What I try to do, let's make it simple, right? There's a superpower breakfast that I eat almost every morning that is easy to do. You can batch prep it. So you've got most of the ingredients already prepped, so it makes it quicker for you in the morning. And that is 20-gram protein Greek yogurt,
Mhm.
about a tablespoon of chia seeds, about a tablespoon of flaxseed, a little bit of granola. I use Kind vanilla almond granola, about a third of a cup. And then about 2/3 of a cup of berries. I like raspberries and blueberries. So you've got creamy, crunchy, yummy all together. It's really, really good. You're getting a fermented food. You're getting a healthy fat in the chia seeds. You're getting anti-inflammatory foods in the chia seeds and in the flax seeds and in the berries.
Mhm.
You're getting phytoestrogens. You're getting fiber, and you're getting 30 grams of protein. So if we think about the average American woman's diet, she gets about 12 grams of fiber a day on average. If you eat the superpower breakfast, you're getting the other 12 to 13 grams of fiber at breakfast.
Wow.
So you're getting a third of your protein, you're getting half of your fiber, you're checking the box on your fermented food for the day. You're getting healthy fats that help keep you full, and you need healthy fats because you have vitamins that are only soluble in fats, like vitamin D, which most of us need, and we need that to help with our bones. So you're helping with your gut health, you're lowering inflammation, you're filling yourself up, you're getting some protein to kick off your day, you're blunting your cortisol. It's such a simple, simple thing to do.
Mhm.
And I have then women say, I'd love to eat that. I can't eat in the morning. So here's what you can do. If you can choke down 2 or 3 bites and blunt that cortisol, give yourself a little time, and then eat the rest of your breakfast later. In other words, divide your breakfast up. Get a few bites in the morning. If you get 3, 4, 5 bites in the morning, if you can't even handle that, you can always mix maybe a scoop of protein powder with a little cold espresso or cold coffee.
Mhm.
Shake it up and sip on that.
Okay, that's a good one.
It's liquid, you're getting it
Mhm.
in. And even if you can start by having that and maybe a bite or two of food and slowly build up to where you can eat in the morning and it doesn't make you feel icky, which it does for a lot of women. We're just not used to it. If you start
Mhm.
in the morning, you will start getting hormones released in the morning to make you hungry. It's going to happen slowly over time, but it's kind of amazing because your body's built that way.
Yeah.
It's why we get hungry 2 hours after we've had Thanksgiving dinner, because your body's releasing the hormone ghrelin at a normal time of day. Your hormone releases, some of them are on a kind of a clock, so to speak.
Mhm.
Train yourself to be hungry at breakfast is what I'm trying to say. So that's like one simple thing you can do. Eat a little simple power breakfast in the morning, and you're giving yourself all kinds of goodness to help not only with the menopause belly, but with cravings, fullness,
Mhm.
lots of other symptoms.
Yeah.
The next thing you can do, another simple thing, just go for a 15-minute walk after lunch and after supper.
Mhm. Mhm.
That simple thing will lower your cortisol level, and it will measurably lower your insulin level. And it helps you feel good. You feel like we think sometimes we've got to work out for 30 minutes or an hour and it has to be super crushingly hard. If you just get up and move around, even walk the circle of your house, walk up and down the stairs in your home, go get the mail, go on a 15-minute walk after lunch and after supper, and you'll lower your insulin level and your cortisol level. So we think these things have to be hard. We think
Yeah.
they have to be a little punishing, right? Or a little
Mhm.
difficult.
Mhm.
That you really don't. They really don't. And the third thing I would suggest is try to work on cutting your added sugars in half. So I don't mean fruit. A lot of people are like, oh, fruit has a lot of, no, fruit has fiber in it. Don't cut fruit up. Fruit's fine. You can eat as much fruit as you're hungry for. but look for added sugars. Find one or two things that you're eating that are high in added sugars. A lot of times it's really sneaky things like ketchup or the bread you're choosing to eat or the couple of crackers you eat in the afternoon. Find one or two things that are really high in added sugars and cut that intake in half.
Mhm.
Your body will get used to that. Your taste buds will adjust. And in 30 days after that, cut it in half again. Your
Mhm.
body will then adjust. Now you're eating a quarter of the added sugars you used to eat.
Right.
Really lowering the amount of added sugars lowers the insulin release. Getting enough fiber helps
Mhm.
slow the absorption of insulin in your body, plus it helps your gut. All this stuff really, really does work in tandem, and it's
Yeah.
really not that hard. And people think, "This is just really not enough," and it really is. You really have to try it. These
Yeah.
small habits stacked on top of each other really work. You're kind of a living testament of it, my friend, right?
Oh, for sure. And I'm just thinking also about Lisa, and we've been on this, wellness and fitness, and you probably kicked it off for us, but just in the last, I think, 6 weeks or so, Lisa, she's been walking with her husband after dinner every day and noticed
Good.
the biggest amount of weight loss. And she's like, high five. Yeah. So these little changes are not
Mhm.
daunting and shouldn't scare anyone
Right.
that we can eat within 90 minutes, but eat the right things. We can go for a small little walk after lunch and dinner and cut our sugars. I mean, these are table stakes, idiot proof. Just start there, guys. And you'll, how soon do you think women will start to notice a difference and feel better?
If you want to reduce menopause belly, it's usually a 4 to 6 week process. And I
Yeah.
think if you were trying to cut calories or fast or do some of those more extreme restrictive things, it takes a while for those things to show up as well. But it is interesting, around 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the woman, depending on how consistent you are, you will notice a flattening in your stomach because it's almost like an inflammation that goes down. So
Right.
especially if you're one of these women who notices your stomach more flat in the morning and more distended later in the day,
Mhm.
but it's it seems kind of like magic because we're so used to losing weight in other ways, in more restrictive, punishing ways, and this is just I want you to think about it like a different type of fat. Think about it like inflammatory tissue that you're working on. Don't think about it like fat because then we get our whole diet brain going, and this is a whole different animal.
That's really foundational to how we have to think about this really differently, right? It's completely not the 10 pounds we wanted to lose in our 20s to go to a reunion. This is like a very different animal. And something that I just want you to reinforce for our community is just how important it is to have our gut health a priority, and how do we make sure that we're doing the things to make our gut health
Yeah,
um,
and I'm so glad you brought that up because I think we hear so much about menopause and we hear, "Gotta get our protein in." I've gotta, lift weights, all those things that are important. We gotta eat our fiber, not for heart health only, but also to help slow the absorption of glucose in your body. But we have to have good gut health because you really will feel terrible if your gut isn't strong. I mean, when you lose estrogen, lots of systems in your body don't like that loss. Your gut's a big one that feels it. We see a big change in all the microorganisms that live in your gut especially around the age of about 45. We see food intolerances, more gastro or GI issues. We see lots of things. Yeah, I used to be able to eat
yeah,
gluten, dairy. Now I don't know what happened. You lost
yeah.
estrogen and your gut microbiome, to use the official term, took a hit.
Mhm.
You're not feeding, and when I say gut, I want your listeners to think of your large intestine.
Mhm.
Not feeding that large intestine what it needs to eat. Prebiotics and probiotics, fiber and fermented foods. Think of it that way. Prebiotics, probiotics, fiber, fermented foods. My Superpower breakfast takes care of a lot of that, right?
Mhm.
If you're not feeding your gut the right things, your gut will stop doing the three things it does for you. And the three big things it does for you is help you with your elimination process. And it can make it very easy for women, especially of midlife age, to become more constipated. and have issues with GI issues of all different types, including food intolerances. Your it will slow and change it changes the absorption of your macro and your micronutrients. So your proteins, your fiber, your sugars, and even all your vitamins and minerals. That microorganism, there's less microorganisms in your gut, and there's a smaller variety of things in there. And so you've got to really like take care of your tummy so that it helps with elimination, it helps with digestion and absorption of all your food. But also, the third big thing that gut does for you, makes a bunch of hormones. And we don't think of our gut making hormones, but it makes melatonin, which helps you fall asleep. So if you're having trouble falling asleep, I first look to gut health with my clients. It makes the hunger hormone, ghrelin. It makes the appetite hormone, peptide YY. It makes 90% of your serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter that helps you like feel really good about life. Lots of really important hormones are made in your gut. So you have to feed it the stuff it eats and take care of it in a little bit better way now that you're in this phase of your life. So it does those really important things for you. And what that gut needs, again, is fiber and fermented foods. So what does it need? It needs a fermented food a day, like a yogurt. You eat a yogurt a day, check the box. Kimchi, sauerkraut, kombucha, or take a quality probiotic. What else does it need? Fiber. And it needs a mix of soluble fiber and insoluble fiber. So soluble fiber is like a gel, and it feeds that group of microorganisms in your tummy, in your colon, your large intestine. Insoluble fiber is like a pipe cleaner. It kind of goes through and it absorbs things. It helps slow the absorption of glucose in your body, and it helps with elimination. Your body needs both. So you've got to get enough of those two things, fiber and fermented foods, and pay just a bit more attention to it when you're midlife than you did when you were younger. Because we think of fiber like, I got to have fiber for heart health. But now you, in midlife, you need fiber to help make your hormones. So you don't feel like a monster 4 days without having gone to the bathroom, Lara. you need fiber to help your body make the things that it needs to make so you feel like yourself. You really do. And it can be just as simple as figuring out, well, how much fiber am I really eating every day? Most women, it's around 12 grams. All right, how do I power boost 12 more grams into my day or 13 grams in my day? Well, maybe I could start eating a power breakfast like this. Or maybe you come up with what sounds like something that would be something you could put on repeat. Because if you're trying to boost your nutrition at this time in your life, it's really easy to boost it at breakfast and lunch because we tend to eat those meals on repeat. We tend to have a couple of breakfasts, we just eat all the time. And the same thing with lunch. Dinner tends to be the wild card, right? But if you can put some more focus on nutrition at breakfast and lunch, you stand a much greater chance of doing your body some good because it's just easier to put things on repeat for those two meals because we tend to eat them on repeat.
It doesn't have to be sexy and you don't have to overthink it. These are just such easy little things that I'm getting onto the power breakfast. One thing that you got me to do the last round of these conversations was I started eating a pear every afternoon, a couple of nuts, or also avocado was really, I added a lot more avocado to my diet early this spring. And maybe that was, helpful with my skin health. I know that when I was doing that actively and the fiber, I felt much better and much more regular.
Avocados, it has omega-3s in it, and omega-3 is anti-inflammatory also, Lara.
Oh, nice.
So avocados are, pick 3 or 4 things you really like you're saying, avocado, berries, eat a pear every day, toss a tablespoon of chia seeds in something. Those little guys have almost 5 grams of fiber. You can hide that pretty easily in a shake or in your yogurt. I throw it in my yogurt because that just makes it crunchy and I like the texture of it. Pick 3 or 4 things you like and just start putting them on repeat. put avocado in your lunch instead of cheese. Eat it with eggs in the morning. Just toss some of it in with a smoothie. There are simple for sort of food staples that you can kind of say, right, I'm going to put a few of these things on repeat. And you will really notice that it helps you feel better. It doesn't have to be hard.
I mean, I feel better just talking to you and getting a reminder because it is so, there is no excuse, guys. This is absolutely embarrassing. If we can't eat within 90 minutes and you've made it so simple, cut our sugar in half to start and move our body twice during the day in two 15-minute increments for walks, then
Mhm.
what's the point of all this? If we can't squeeze that in, and also I'm just going to reinforce because it helped me so much when you first introduced it was fiber and fermented foods.
Mhm.
Just get that into your regime. So life-saving stuff that you do, Cindy, how do people find you to work with you, your courses? I'm on your email list, so I get these nuggets in my inbox, like not often enough because I hang on your every word. So how does our audience find you?
You're fantastic. Thanks. You can go to menopausepath.com and find out more information about me. How I work with people is I think, we go to the doctor and they don't know enough about menopause because they just haven't been trained in medical school on it. So when you work with me, you work with a real person. And that's something you don't get on ChatGPT. That's something you don't get in a book. So I really focus on having a very personal experience with my clients. So if you go to menopausepath.com, you can learn about me, learn about the programs that I have. Every program I have includes one on one calls with me so that I can listen to what's actually going on with you and understand what your symptoms are, what your goals are, if you're trying to have a level of weight loss also. And then I create a custom program for you. And then I either work with you one on one every week, or you can choose a program where I'll work with you every month for 3 months. And then you've got access to my online program, which is chock full of information and you can always ask me questions. Or for the people who want to kind of do things on their own, I'll work with you one time, create a plan for you, and then you can use the online program and just tap into the different lessons you can learn there on your own. So, kind of three different low to high touch programs. So, menopausepath.com. You can find all that about me or at menopausepath on Instagram.
People will just see you and then realize you're 59 years old and just want to do exactly what you do so that I can have this glow and feel this amazing and look as amazing as you do. But we now, a year later, can speak from experience on
I
how
love
your words of wisdom and your content have like radically changed our lives here at the Sweaty Pillow for Lisa and I. And I can't thank you enough for coming back on again. This is a gift. This is like a 1 hour session with one of our goddesses of all things menopause. That's so worthwhile. So our listeners will just soak up every ounce of you, Cindy, and they'll be flocking to you online. That's for sure.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think there's so much information out there right now that even from a year ago, Lara, there's lots of information you can read about and get and books you can get, but simple, practical things that you can fit into your already busy life. How do I
Yeah,
feel better quickly? That's really what I focus on. Let me
I
talk to
love
you.
that.
Let's zero in on what you need. Let's help you get feeling better within a few weeks. And it's 100% possible. So thank you, though. I
Cindy,
appreciate your kind words.
you're amazing. The menopause path. Seek this woman out, you guys. You will absolutely be delighted as we are. So thanks again for joining us, Cindy, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.